Welcome to another edition of Beyond the First Million. I'm your host, Gideon Drucker, alongside my taller colleague, Jordan Haynes. And we are super excited for today's episode. And I say that because I think what we're going to talk about today has really the way of increasing your wealth and making the biggest impact of how you think about money and what you can do right now. Like not waiting for tomorrow, not waiting for tactics to get to the next level of wealth. And we're going to be talking about levels of wealth today. But I'm going to start with a thought experiment that I want everybody to listen in and answer for themselves. One of the best questions I've heard of how to really understand that financial planning is relative, and it's about trade-offs. You have two options. Number one, you can get a guaranteed $2 million in your pocket tomorrow. For those of you that are really tactical and doing the math, tax-free. We're going to make it easy. You're getting $2 million actually in your pocket tomorrow. That's option A. Option B, there's a 50-50 chance of getting $100 million or nothing. So do you elect $2 million guaranteed in your pocket tomorrow or a 50-50 shot of $100 million or nothing? What are you choosing? I'm willing to bet that everybody listening within 10 seconds knows what you want to do. You immediately understood, oh, that $2 million, that could change my life. That just takes a lot of that financial stress you're feeling day to day. No questions asked. I'm putting that in my pocket. And others of you are listening and saying, you know what? I have $2 million. I have $5 million. It's not nothing. And it gets back to, this is not about probabilities. It's not about math. It's not about a spreadsheet. It's not even about planning. It's about lifestyle, right? It's about trade-offs. It's about where are you currently in your financial journey? And by the way the you answer that question, maybe in 10 years, right? If you're somebody that answered that $2 million would be amazing. And I want that. I bet if I asked that question in 10 years or 5 years, it would be a totally different equation. Yeah. Financial planning is relative.
This conversation feels kind of to me like the you are here situation. We don't know where we're going. We have an idea of where we want to go, right? But it helps to know kind of where we're at because the game we're playing or the playbook we're going to use, whatever phrase you want to use for that, really depends on just where you're at in this journey.
And I think that, and you'll kind of enhance on this, but there's a great book we both read. There's this idea of wealth. So the book we've both read by Nick
Majuli, I think is how we say his name.
I took it last time and failed, so at least both this time if we're not right. But hey, he's gotten a shout out in, not that he's a New York Times bestseller, I don't think he really needs our shout out, but he has one in 2 episodes that we've done recently. But he's written a book we've both read called The Wealth Ladder. And it's really cool. We're not going to spend the whole episode talking about it, but there's just, it sets the stage for what we want to talk about today. And the central idea is it's simple, really simple actually, but powerful. The skills required to get from one level of wealth to the next are totally different depending on where you currently sit. So what it takes you to get from $10,000 of net worth to $100,000 of net worth is not the same skill set. It's not the same way of doing things. It's going to get you from 100,000 to $1 million. And the things that get you from $1 million, right? Most of our clients are starting with at least typically $1 million. Getting from $1 million to 10 million is a totally different game you're playing than somebody that's getting from 10 million to 50 million or 100. It's not better games. It's that you're literally playing a different game of wealth building, of the things you need to do to reach that next level are different depending on which game you're actually in.
Yeah. This is a really commonly understood concept outside of finance, which is really interesting to me. Those of you listening, think about like a sport that you've learned, or if you're into music, like a musical instrument you've learned. There's these phases that you go through. And I really like camping and I really like backpacking. And every time I've taken a friend to go backpacking with me, they get really into buying the nicest gear. And
that's like half of the hiking.
And well, first we just need to get you in the mindset of camping, right? That is step one. Get okay not sleeping well. And it's the same with music, right? You want to learn a new musical instrument. You don't need to go buy the fanciest musical instrument at first. You just need to learn the fundamentals. Right. But as you get better, or as you grow, there are different things you need to focus on. And the point we're making here that Nick makes in the book, we're going to talk more about, is in these different phases, whether it's you make less than 10,000 or not make, but you have less than 10,000.
He really trains it in net worth, but it works across any,
So
any metric.
Whatever phase you're in, we want to make sure you're playing the right game, if that's the way you want to phrase it, rather than focusing on people that are in an entirely different game, right? And trying to do the things that they're doing. What are the things that are actually going to move the needle forward for you where you're at right now?
Right. And it works in both directions of making sure you're playing the right game. The natural way of thinking about that is, sure, if you're 100,000 of net worth and you have some credit card debt, thinking about the strategies to get you from 10. No, we need to focus on, and as Nick phrased it, education. And we're not going to keep getting education at the beginning is the biggest thing that can bring you to the next level of wealth. You have enough education, you're making a certain amount of money that allows you to get out of the bottom, so to speak. But it works at every level higher, right? That has diminishing returns at a certain point, right? Or even making sure you're investing. Super important to get to $1 million, 10 million, but you're probably not going to get to the 2050 just by investing, right? It's going to take another skill set to get there. Now, we're going to frame a lot of this in the context of, for our clients, right? You have $1 million of assets, let's say, right? Or well, if you want to frame it more broadly, 500,000 to 10 million of assets. That's the game you're playing. What do you want to focus on? What is the thing that is going to move the needle more than anything else we talk about, we do, you do, and we're going to get there. I'm going to start with this with a quick story.
Yeah.
So I have a friend, smart guy, successful, makes good money. And he mentioned that he's in a text group with a bunch of friends where they basically trade stock picking ideas.
Yeah.
Of, hey, I'm investing in this, I'm investing in that. What do you think about that? And then he has his own spreadsheet that he looks at, he said every day of, all right, how did his stocks do? And he said, what do I think about that? Or at first I think he said, do you want to be in that group? I said, hell no. I can't think of anything that would be a bigger waste of time than every day analyzing individual stock picks. And he's like, well, what do you mean by that? I said, do you want my honest, like, are you actually asking? I said, how have you done across this entire stock picking adventure? He said, some years really good, some years not so much. I said, yes, well, that's investing in general. I said, but even if you were knocking the cover off and you were crushing it, you did 5% better, 10% than the stock market as a whole. How much of that is that moving the needle in your financial life? What are you able to do? Because forgetting about all the time, energy, and attention he's dedicating to that. So I said, that's entertainment if it's fun. If you just, hey, it's a hobby, right? I could be, I don't know, gambling, also not a great hobby, but I could be doing other things to satisfy this itch and I'm just doing this. Fine, if that's your thing. But if any part of you thinks I'm actually building wealth and I'm setting myself and my family up on a trajectory, I told him I would leave the text group, delete the spreadsheet, and just literally like forget he ever did that. And I would dedicate every waking second of how do I increase my wealth? It's focusing, how do I increase my primary income? How do I get from where I'm at in my job? What would it take? Literally, what would it take to make 30% more money next year? If you think about 5% return, 10%, 30% return 1 year in your investment account, 1 year of benefit, right? And it compounds, but you're not locking that in every year. Every dollar of income you make, additionally, you reach a level where you're now getting RSU package, a bigger bonus, a bigger salary, that becomes the new default. So a 30% raise and doing what you can to get there is not increasing your income 1 year. It's increasing 20 to 30 years of income compounded by how much you can save and your investment rate. Millions upon millions, again, at the level our clients are at, by increasing your income 1 year. By reaching that next level of income, you're radically changing your life. And that's something we see every day of ambitious people focusing their time and energy on things that are going to increase the margins of their financial health, their financial life, when the single biggest driver available of building wealth, of actual wealth creation, is the ability to increase their income for decades ahead.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you is the focus for someone in this range, right, the 500,000 plus, doesn't necessarily need to be making that really small marginal improvement in the stocks that you pick or your investment growth. It's really just focus on the thing that you're really already naturally suited to do, which is generally your career, your ability to make more money. Is that what?
And it sounds obvious, and I'm going to touch on, is this whole entire podcast is telling me to make more money? Yes, but also we're going to talk about why that is honestly, I think the most understated, underrated piece of advice we could give.
Yeah.
But here's something we've noticed, and I've been thinking so much about this the last year or two, just as we have more and more clients coming in at a higher income. Most clients are making 400,000 plus. Most are coming with investments of $1 million plus, if not 2, 3, 5. And as this keeps happening, and then the longer you do this, you have the benefit of working with clients for years, and patterns start to emerge. The clients that have accumulated 2 million or more in their 30s, in their early 40s, often reach 4 million, 5 million relatively quickly and painlessly. On the flip side, clients that they have less than 1 million at similar ages, it's so much harder to make that leap. The same rates of return, the same saving habits, nothing is different. And it's the simplest answer in finance. It takes money to make money.
Yes.
Right? But I think my dad said it in his episode that getting to 1 million is really hard. And we see it with clients that started with a little bit less. Every dollar they're clawing to save, to invest, to grow, to cross that barrier. And then you're going down a hill and you're building momentum. Once you cross 1 million, once you cross 2, I would say even more so, you're going so quickly. Immediately you're at 4 and 5 because of how much you have behind you. So it made us think, well, what is the thing that's actually getting us there? Because it's not their investment strategy. It's not real estate and it's not their savings rate. It is how much gross income from their primary income that they're building. It's larger salaries, bonuses, RSUs, stock options, and the ability for greater upside in the future. The people that are building wealth the fastest aren't investing differently. They're earning differently. There's a different mechanism at play that's allowing their income to jump really quickly over time. Now, us as advisors, what do we do? What we're talking about right now is playing great offense, right? Is making more money to build with. Everything we do is playing great defense. The money you're making, we want to save more of it. We want to be tax efficient. We want to protect it. We want to grow it. It's everything on the back end. What can I do in my current job? What can I do that's maybe uncomfortable to take me from 200 to 300 or from 600 to 800?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting as I've gotten to know clients over the years, when they get to this range where they're already doing really well in their career. I would say objectively, most people we end up working with are already doing really well in their career.
I mean, just you make enough income that you can afford to hire a financial planner.
You might be young, you might be older, it doesn't matter. They're already doing pretty good. And that next step often is a little bit more uncomfortable. But what's interesting is I remember talking to a client a long time ago and he made good money. He was probably in the 600,000 range. And I was asking him about income and he was like, oh, I've done all that I can. I want to focus my time on, in his case, it was real estate, right? I want to expand my real estate portfolio. And I said, is that actually how you want to spend your time? What if you allocated all the time on real estate back into your career? What would you do to make more money? He produced a really good list. And it was a lot more meaningful and more tangible, and it was actually going to move the needle forward.
As I look at how clients that have leveled up, right? How have they actually gotten to that next phase? We have one client, he actually went back to law school, not because he wanted to be a lawyer, he doesn't, but it's allowing him to reach the management. What he does, he needed to have that as his background. Immediately jumps him up a level that if we tried to recreate that amount of increase in wealth that his new income by going back to school is going to afford him, we would not have been able, we're valuable. Our value is not as great as that income jump that he's building for himself. People get comfortable in their jobs. And they say, well, of course, I'm making as much money as I can. We have seen clients, we go through the plan. At the beginning of my career, I can't speak for you, I would never want to give the advice and a plan of, hey, well, if your income went up, the plan, it would work a lot better, because I didn't have the confidence to know that that actually is helpful advice. It kind of sounds like dumb financial advice, just make more money. Whereas we've been in meetings with client where we're going through everything in their financial plan of, hey, you need to cut here, buying this home with also this vacation home and sending your daughters to private school and all these things where, and here's how much we would need to cut back in your budget, in your spending to be able to do this. And the client took it all in, sitting with it, is like, okay, or I could just make an extra 200,000, right? That would, just so I'm clear, that would have the same impact to my financial trajectory of the 19 things that you just said. And I said, yes. He said, cool, let's assume that I'm going to do that. And it doesn't sound like a financial planning consideration all the time. Your income is kind of separate. Well, how's your money invested? And do you have the right amount of insurance? And how much are you saving? And are you using the right tax vehicles? And over here on this other thing is my work life and my professional career and income. That immediately, that drives you to it. We have a lot of clients that work in tech, and particularly pre-IPO companies, and some of the companies that are actually IPOing this year. And what I have learned working with them is, if you're in that world, that tech world, you got to take a lot of bites at the apple. How do you put yourself in positions that you're giving yourself opportunities for stock options to pan out? If we have clients in finance that they get involved at a company where they have carry, right? If they're in private equity or hedge funds, where they're sharing in the actual profit of the return that their funds have, of how can you ensure that you have more upside in what you're doing, right? What are the skills, literally, what are the skills you need? I think about for our business, and I know we've both read the book, 10X is easier than 2X. Yeah. Who's the author? Just because I like doing that.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
We'll put it in the
Neither
show.
one of us know.
I don't know.
Not that these people need our shouting out of, but the whole idea of the book, 10X is easier than 2X, is that there are a lot of different ways for you to 2X, and this is for business owners, but that you can. Dan Sullivan. Nice.
That's it.
Definitely doesn't need us shouting him out on our gigantic worldwide podcast here after writing 100 best-selling books. But there are a lot of different ways that you can make a little bit more money, or as business owner that we can grow our business a little bit. 2X, right? 50 different ways to get there. But what's the thing that's going to allow you to 10X? There's typically only one or two things that will actually allow that to happen. Think about that in your own world. What would be the thing to get you from where you're at, 300,000? What would it take to get to 800,000? There's typically only one or two things. This exercise forces you to eliminate all the things, right? What could make us a little bit better? I don't know. We make our deliverables a little bit better.
Yes.
We better our website. Sure, but that's not going to allow us to jump 9 levels. And that's just it for everybody listening. in your world, in your career, in your income, is it a designation? Is it schooling? Is it starting your own thing? We have a lot of clients that build out their own consulting on the side, and they build that out until they're ready, and they keep their job until they're ready to move. But if reaching that next level of wealth is important to you, and we're going to come back to that because the if is a big part of that. You don't have to want to do these things I'm talking about. You could have a great life, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
But if you want to reach that next level of wealth, taking it from two people that have spent a decade working with clients in this income and asset range, getting your income from where it is to 2x, 5x, whatever that thing is going to make the biggest impact. And I know we have two big things we want to talk about. I'm jacked up, and I love this. I said at the start we were going to be excited by this episode.
Once we get the momentum going, you start thinking of all the cool things.
Yeah.
So I have a couple thoughts with this. I think my big takeaway from what you're saying, and I would 100% agree with this. It's not going to be the tiny little baby steps that will get you there, right? Maybe at the beginning it is making sure the fundamentals and you do the baby steps and they feel good, but like cutting back $5 a month isn't going to get you from 1 million to 10 million. It's just not going to do it. It's going to be more drastic.
And people reach, and we've both seen this, cutting back spending at a certain point has diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Meaning income variance is greater than spending variance. What do we mean by that? If you're 42 years old, you have 3 kids, you live in San Francisco, you make $500,000 a year, there's only a certain degree of cutting back your spending that is feasible. At a certain point, it just costs you to live. You're feeding 3 kids, you live in an expensive area, taking you from, all right, we spent 12,000 to 10,000 to it. You keep moving the number. At a certain point, it's nope, this is our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So cutting back 1,000 a month from that family, what are we doing? There literally becomes a point where we start having to make bigger and bigger life considerations for less and less benefit. You know what actually would make more benefit? Again, figure out a way to play greater offense instead of playing better defense. The end of this piece, and then we're going to talk about, do you actually want to do everything we're saying in this? Is this necessary for your life? For a lot of our clients, increasing their income by 100,000 is more impactful and more realistic, right? And here's where we're not just telling is more realistic than trying to optimize cutting $20,000 out of your spending habits. For a lot of our clients, it really is that simple. Now, is all this what you want? Right? Who said I need to make more money? Why do I want a 10x instead of 2x? This comes back to knowing the game that you're playing. We have plenty of clients that are on the lower end of this asset level that are super happy with everything that is going on in their life. They make as much as they want. They have a great work-life balance as they define it. That's different for everybody. They're building their net worth. They're on track for financial independence. They don't feel like they need to spend more. If you said, well, you need to have 20 million. No, they don't need to have $20 million. They have 1 million, 1.5, and they're going to keep building. And maybe it takes a little bit longer. Their life enjoyment, their lifestyle is not dependent on them having more things.
Yeah.
Bigger, better. None of that, knowing what game you're trying to play.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's also fine if you are listening to this and saying, no, I want a bigger, more luxurious life. I want $20 million. Why? Because why not? That's exciting. And I think about the same thing on the personal side. Being able to spend more, being able to do more luxurious, ridiculous things, that is a driver for me. And for a lot of our clients. And that's not a bad thing too. I was watching this Instagram video that's a little controversial probably, but it's this business coach mom, and she's basically saying, I like nice shit. Why is that a problem? I'm going to work hard because I want to be able to spend. And if you don't want to spend that, that's cool, but nobody should look down on somebody because they want more. Both are good. There's no right answer. We have clients that do both, but know which game you're playing. Know what you're trying to arrive at.
You just got to know where I often say with clients, you just need to know when your good enough is. When are you going to look back and say, this is good enough? And frankly, I mean, you and I are probably similar in that I don't know if I'll ever have pure I'm here, because I just like growing. I love the process of growing, both from a business perspective, an income perspective, and just a personal perspective. I'm always thinking about that stuff. So that's for me what I really like. But I've had clients in the past, I've had friends that are just, I'm here. I'm good enough. This is great for where I'm at. And okay, great. You keep playing that game. That's fine. Neither of them are good. Neither of them are bad. It's just what works for you. And I want to bring that back to finances. And then I want to round it out with a few thoughts. I don't think most people, the thing that they're going to get a lot of value out of is sitting down and doing the investments, really diving in. Some people might really like that. And we've had clients that they love that. They really want to.
And even if they want to work with us, they love us. They love nerding out with us.
Right? And it's great. But I think most people don't really want to, right? It's just they maybe feel like they should or they have to in order to move up to that next level, which I think if this episode is any indication that you don't have to do that, you don't have to do that. Focus on the things you focus on. We've referenced so many books in this, and I'm going to drop 2 more just because I think they're helpful for this conversation. One of the most impactful books for me has been a book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And the whole premise of it is just become so relentlessly focused on something where people can't ignore you. And that's going to be the thing that actually improves your life, right? He calls it your craft. And for most people, your craft is going to be your career. It's going to be your income earning potential.
Your primary way that you take care of your family.
Yeah, so focus on that thing. And the other thing, you referenced 10x is easier than 2x. Benjamin Harding was a co-author on that book, and he wrote another book called The Science of Scaling, and the whole premise. So a lot of people, I remember having a conversation with someone about this, and they said, well, what am I supposed to do? And I think you kind of tease this a little bit, but in this Science of Scaling book, he says, you just need to set an impossible goal. What is that impossible thing that you could set? Because that's naturally going to tell you, hey, here's where you need to focus.
Right. It's the only way. There's only one way that you can make that happen.
Yes. And it's not going to be these tiny little minute improvements. It's going to be something that's transitional. It's big. And that's okay. It's okay for you to want to focus on just making more money.
Yeah. And the thing will end. We take this for granted. Increasing your income only matters if you are saving and investing to the point of building net worth, right? Mm-hmm. You go from making 500,000 to $1 million, but you're spending all of it and you're not saving. Well, you're not actually building your net worth to a degree that's providing you future freedom and flexibility. You might be enjoying more day to day, but you're not actually building wealth. So the whole idea of us talking about, hey, increasing your income, the second part and where we come in is, all right, and now let's be more tax efficient with it and let's save it and let's invest it and let's protect it. Yeah. But it has to start with the income and then we come in. And with that, we're going to leave you. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll see you next week. A lot more to come from Jordan and I. Be well.